So the other day on stream with my friends Sigils and Biffle, we did a tier list for Rogue Company of all the rogues from Anvil all the way to Vi. And we ranked them on a rating from S all the way to D tier. And that was great, and we came up with some good discussion. Obviously, Anvil should, of course, been a higher tier. But really, it was kind of hard to do because it's an attack versus defense game in demo mode, and that's really what we play most of the time. So today, we're going to do a tier list of all of the offensive rogues, the best ones and the worst ones in the offense period of a demo round, and all of the worst ones. And then, of course, we'll do the defense after that. I'm joined today by my buddy Caffeinated. Hi, Caff.
Hey, hey.
And we're going to go through each of the rogues and decide which one has the best utility for which situation. The Rogue Company has 13 rogues on release. If you bought the basic version, you'll only have 6. But out of 13, each of them have unique abilities that make them better or worse than others. For instance, each character has a unique individual ability as well as a passive ability, 2 main guns, and then of course a series of other weapons and utility options that you can choose from. They also each have perks, and some rogues share perks with other rogues, but each of them has a unique, basically, combination of perks that they can have, ranging from lifesteal all the way to being able to reload while sprinting. All of these abilities and utility combined make a rogue better than other rogues for certain situations, but there are some rogues that are instant picks no matter what. We're going to talk about what makes some rogues S tier and what makes some D tier, and a little bit about the definitions of how we're looking at it. So some of you might be asking, what's a tier list? Well, a tier list here in this example goes from S all the way to F. Some tier lists have S plus or A plus or B minus or something like that to differentiate, but essentially what you're doing is ranking something based from top to bottom on what it brings to the table. In this example, you can see that obviously Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Frosted Flakes are S tier. I agree fully with that. Not exactly sure why mini wheats are up there, but that's just, how this person did it. Also, I'm very, very, very disappointed to see Lucky Charms in E tier. I think that should be a lot higher, but anyway, this is just an example. All right, so offensive rogues and Rogue Company. We've got ourselves a tier list here. This isn't any kind of special tier or anything like that. It's made by tiermaker.com. Somebody already put the pictures in there. Thank you to whoever that was. But anyway, we're going to start off by going through each rogue and how they do in an offensive situation in the demolition game mode on Rogue Company. We will skip, for the purpose of discussion and memory, Anvil, and we'll save him for last. But Chalk, let's put Chalk on the board. How are we feeling about Chalk, Calf?
I think Chalk is a solid A in his current implementation.
A, okay.
His submachine gun is not the worst, but not the best. It falls off at range and it doesn't have the tightest ADS bloom on it. But he does get a sticky grenade, which we all know if you've played for any significant amount of time, sticky grenades can mess you up very quickly. He also gains access to flashbangs, and as Wicked recently learned, with the ability to hold 2 grenades at once and swap them independently and use them in tactical situations, can be very good for pushing onto sites. A lot of people tend to use his Q active ability, in which he can boost his health from 100 to 175 or res himself remote of the team to get himself back in the fight. A lot of people currently use it as a self-res instead of as an aggressive use of it. But I see that I believe that he's best used in an aggressive breacher role, in which you're able to get onto site, flashbang people, throw grenades, while having more HP and being able to kind of fight in a 1v2 situation and not be completely at a disadvantage. In addition, if you don't pop your Q and you get downed, you're forcing the enemies to play off of that and push you and try and secure the kill, because they know you're about to get back up and you're about to be back in the fight unless they do something about it very quickly. So what do you think? Yeah,
I could buy that. I think Chalk has got a lot of definite 1v1 potential. He can use his Q aggressively, which I think is the best way to use it. I think relying on it as a knock thing is probably an afterthought, but it's nice to have. And then I think another thing that really sets him off is that lifesteal, because he'll get a kill real quick, especially if he's running shotgun in close quarters or he's got a good SMG and you have a good aggressive Chalk. You can really take somebody out real quick, get that immediate lifesteal, and then move on to the next target. And that really sets him aside. Yeah.
I like to point out that he has access to the cloaked perk, which makes him become immune to being revealed by enemies. I believe we'll see as a reoccurring theme that if a rogue has access to that, they're going to be ranked a little bit higher, because that provides immunity to the the perk that reveals enemies whenever you shoot them, to Phantom's grenades, to Dallas's actives, to Talon's scan darts. You invalidate a lot of an enemy team's ability to gather intel just by a $4,000 perk. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I can see that. Just a side note, Chalk right here doesn't have anything special except for this skin, which is pretty cool. Why I don't have it equipped, I'm not sure. We'll just go ahead and equip it. No extra wingsuits right now at the time of this recording or anything like that. Just the basic skins that come with it. We'll throw those on. And yeah, we've got some basic emotes and stuff like that. All right, so I buy that. Chalk it A. I think personally he's a little bit lower, but let's leave him there and see where everybody else sits. Then we'll move people around. What about Dallas?
I think Dallas is a C.
Oof, I agree. I think Dallas is by far one of the weakest picks you can pick probably right now. Now he's good in the right hands. Someone who can put, I know a lot of Dallas fanboys are gonna be really upset about and thoughts on this, but I think like in the right hands, he can push and use that scan as action. But compared to other people with similar abilities, he just doesn't have a standout ability. And then on top of that, I think his guns are just kind of meh at best. They're not like super great. The AK is okay. The DMR is like not really my favorite. I've seen some people do some work on it, but for me, I think he's a C tier guy.
So my reasoning for Dallas is that his Q is quite often negated by that cloaked ability that I was talking about with Chak. So his Q heavily relies on the fact that it'll scan the closest enemy that is not cloaked. And if there is a cloak, say if you're in a 1v1 situation and the enemy is cloaked, it just won't fire off. And in comparison to something like Saint, where they get the perk to whenever they shoot someone, they become revealed, it feels like it's a better version. Other people just have a slightly worse version of what's supposed to make him unique. But his DMR is lackluster. His AK, while I really like it, and I like the slower rate of fire and the accuracy that comes with it, a lot of people seem to not like it because of the slower rate of fire. He has an EMP and an incendiary. Also, his perks. He gains the ability to use body armor and to instantly reload upon downing an enemy, but those are good 10k perks, but body armor only helps you for one engagement at most, or at minimum is one engagement, and then the instant reload on the downing of an enemy. While it is nice, I feel like it falls off as you get higher in skill at the game, because whenever you get done with shooting someone or peeking someone, you're inherently going to go back to cover, reload, reassess the situation, or you will already know that you're going to be pushing someone. And while it's nice, it's not a game-changing perk. So that's why I put him down there. I would like to see in the future him get his Q changed to actually going through the cloak, to making him being one of the only operators who's able to gather intel on cloaked enemies. That I think would be a niche that could easily be filled by him and make him jump up to a B or maybe an A pick. But as of right now, with the prevalence that the cloaked is on the perk tree, I don't think that he's really that solid of a pick unless you just really like his guns.
Yeah, so my only thing with Dallas is that I am not super happy with how his perks are. Like, I think they're okay. Like, the armor's good and the reload perk is great, but it doesn't give him any, like, super strong ability to push. He doesn't have lifesteal or anything like that. I mean, they're kind of good and kind of strong, but they don't really give him that much of an advantage. And then when you talk about his throwables, the incendiary grenade and the EMP grenade are probably the two worst throwables in the game. I don't know if you agree with that, but like I think like the incendiary grenade has its opportunities, and on Scorch it's good because she's immune to fire, so she can push through it and she can do stuff. But on somebody who's not immune to fire, it's just kind of an underwhelming throwable. He can't get that kill from a throwable. And then, you know, he's got a great revolver and the AK is not bad. I personally hate his DMR, but yeah, I think just in general, I think we got him in the right position. So what about Dima? You know, Dima, our boy Dima, closely to my heart as a true Russian chiki-briki operator, of course. Where are we thinking he goes? I'm thinking that he's like A at least, if not S. What about you?
I'm thinking a solid A. With future updates and a couple of tweaks to some of his active abilities, I think he could easily be an S pick.
Yeah.
But currently in his current state, I would say he's an A.
Definitely. All right, so why do you think that? Let's go through it.
So Dima has the Q ability in which he has a grenade launcher. It's in-game called the MIRV launcher. It is a cluster grenade launcher. Whenever you shoot it, you'll get your green arc and if you stick a wall or a floor or anything like that, it will stick to it and launch out 3 cluster grenades, which have a decent size, similar to the unupgraded frag grenade in their range of effectiveness. And you're able to do some pretty nice things in the ability to stick it onto waist-high walls or crouch-high walls, put it on the backside of cover that the enemies are behind, things like that, in order to push enemies off of objectives or cover, or just to kind of breach into a site or soften up a site, especially on attacking. Currently, the best thing in Dima's kit is the fact that he has access to the standard frag grenade, and he has the trait for life drain. So his KA-30 and his Mamba. The Mamba is a great DMR, 3-round burst. Some people love it, some people hate it. If you can hit your shots, it's a great gun. The KA-30, a bit more consistent in its damage, does 19 damage, falling off at range, has a high rate of fire, decently accurate. I think it's a great assault rifle all the way around. But that frag grenade, I think, is some of the most important. I think it's the best throwable in the game currently as a grenade.
Definitely.
The ability to cook and have the grenade blow up right behind cover, especially when matched with an intel gatherer. This is somewhere where Dallas or Phantom's smoke grenade is really helpful, so that you can cook it perfectly to where it doesn't even touch the ground. They don't even get the notification for the frag grenade coming around the corner, and it blows up and kills them. So the bounce back perk reduces your health regeneration delay, and I think it's really significant.
Yeah, in my opinion, life drain is by far the best perk in the game. I don't think there's anything that comes anywhere close to it. I don't know about you,
100%.
but it's so strong. And if you can get it down and you're in the middle of it really allows you to 1v2, 1v3. If you can get that first down, you can just roll to the next one. And it really catches people off guard too, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
So,
the only thing that I have against Dima is if Dima is in the wrong hands, he is a murderer of his own team. Let's just say Ian, you know what I'm saying? Ian be killing his own team all the time. I'm saying when I'm on his team.
Team killer.
It is definitely a team killer. You'll be really careful about using that Q when you're close to a corner or something like that. There's a little red X that comes up. Same thing with his frag grenade. If you get dinked in the head with a frag grenade, whether you're Dima or somebody else, and that thing will drop on the ground if you're in the middle of throwing it, and then, like previously stated, kill your team. All right, so back to our tier list. I think you're right. Dima's A. What about Glitch? I don't know. Glitch is one of those really tough ones in demo. Remember, we're talking about offense here, so I think Glitch has got more utility on offense than he does on defense. That's for sure. But I don't know. I think he's a situational pick, and before there's pick bans, it's gonna be kind of tough. So where do you get him?
In the current state of demolition, I would say he is a B.
B.
He is an average and safe pick. You're not going to feel bad if the enemy team doesn't have things like an anvil or a trench or a talon or something like that.
Okay.
But if they do have that, he's really going to shine. Whenever they get a pick ban or a draft pick system implemented into the game, I think he's going to skyrocket up, because if you see a first pick anvil, first pick trench, first pick talon, those are all things that are going to be easily negatable with a Glitch counter pick.
I will say, I think personally, him and Dima are the coolest looking people. I think Dima gets number 1 and Glitch gets a close second in terms of design and art style, as if you're excluding like Ronin's bodacious bod. But I think like in general, he's pretty cool looking. A little bit like EDM, like he should be EDM DJ or something like that. All right, so Glitch has got, of course, he's got his ability, his Q ability, which is hack. It means he can take out barbed wire, he can take out anvil's walls. He has a passive where he can detect nearby enemy equipment even through walls. Got a shotgun, got the LMP-X, which is supposed to be the best SMG in the game. What else do you think makes him stand out?
The Simtex grenade, I think, is really useful. It's not a frag grenade. If he had a frag grenade, I think he might even be an A tier pick, but with just a Simtex, I don't think he's quite that high up. His perks are just almost really good. His 10k perks, he has Sixth Sense. You get notified whenever an enemy within 25 meters is looking at in your general direction. I think this is actually the weakest 10k perk.
Yep. Unless you're a bot. Unless you're a completely oblivious bot and you can't listen to anything, you don't have headphones, you're sitting in mom's basement, you know what I'm saying? You got to play muted because mom's upstairs, you can't be listening. Like, then maybe this thing is helpful to you, but I agree. Pretty not worth the 10k, especially when you have other good perks that are at the 5k level or lower level, whatever.
I think the one that really shines is the tracker rounds. This is the trait or perk that I'm talking about, in which I'm thinking that Dallas doesn't really have a niche because of this perk and how many people that this perk is on. This is shooting at someone and getting a Dallas Q off on them, basically, and that can be so clutch if you're hitting someone who's on a rotate. If you hit someone and they're running on a rotate, you can tell whether or not they're continuing on the rotate or if they're coming back. If you hit someone who's behind cover, if they're just hanging out behind that cover, or if they're moving away from that cover. This perk is super, super clutch, especially whenever you're not playing with active comms.
Yes, it's an underrated perk for sure, because there's like plenty of time. I think you just take the red outline for granted. You're like, oh, he's lit up, I'm gonna get the kill, but you forget that somebody actually exposed him by shooting him first or by revealing him with a perk or something like that. So it's something that like you see in games all the time. It leads to the enemy team defeat, like super. There's nothing worse than being the last person alive in a 1v3 or 1v2 and being revealed. So it's definitely like an underrated thing. It's kind of interesting you don't get like an extra assist or something like that if he's shot while revealed. I think that would be interesting to add some level of point attribution to it, similar to Siege, where you get some kind of assist and incentivize people to have these kinds of perks. Sometimes when you're running a gun, and if you care about frags and you care about downs better than your buddies, you might not want to get tracker rounds, but I think it's better for the team and it leads to victories in demo, which is what it's all about.
His submachine gun, I think, is highly underrated currently. At tier 2 and below, so base tier, tier 1, tier 2, the ADS on it, the ADS bloom to begin with, is pretty wide. You're not able to accurately hit shots at range as consistently, but once you hit tier 3, that ADS tightens up super, super nice, and you're able to get more accurate headshots and body shots whenever people are peeking corners and things like that. I believe it's suppressed from base, if I'm not mistaken. At least it sounds so. Yeah, so it's suppressed from the get-go, so you're not going to be showing up on enemy minimap HUD.
Note the correct use of suppression here and not silence, okay? Because we are professionals, all right? Professionals. All right, so we've got Chalk and Dima at A tier, Glitch at B tier, and Dallas on C tier. Let's move on and talk about Lancer. Now, I think there's a lot of feelings about this one. I personally feel like, unfortunately, even though she's like a 1v1 kind of person, she doesn't seem to provide a whole lot of team utility. I think in offense, she might be S tier. What do you think?
I would be okay with putting her at S tier, but I would comfortably put her at A tier. I think the main issue I have with Lancer is that you're relying on the fact that the enemy team isn't playing together.
Sure.
Yeah. She is the dictionary term for a duelist for this game. She exceeds in 1v1s, but in a 1v2 situation, if she doesn't have her life drain perk, which we'll hit on again in a moment, she gets destroyed.
So many Lancers try to do these crazy like Q right off the bat, get around the time, and I do the same thing because I want content for stream. It's funny, it's whatever. So I started playing Lancer the other day, and she's pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie, she's got a lot of playfulness, but she's definitely one of those people that can absolutely be way too aggressive. It's so tempting to pop the Q and just run up a flank, but then get 1v4'd and then you're down a teammate, and that happens more often than not. And a lot of things, it's like I think of Lancer as like the Ashe. Lancer is like the Ashe of this game. Like, absolutely. The W key in there, they might get a frag or two. They'd be like, I got 2 knocks. Well, the other team picked those 2 up, and now it's a 3v4. That Lancer's dead. Good job, buddy. That was great for you, but you didn't help the team out. So there's a lot of people out there. I think she's really, really good in the other game modes. But when we talk about offense demo, Lancer definitely can be played completely wrong, but when played correctly, I absolutely agree that her ability to rotate is incredible. And before she gets her lifesteal perk, she's kind of like meh at best, but once she has it, she's god tier for sure.
So Lancer has one of the best passives in the game. Her passive is elusive. Activating your dodge roll reloads your currently equipped weapon, and it most of the time is faster than actually hitting the reload button on your keyboard or controller. This allows you to keep up the momentum, keep up movement while in a fight, and not have to worry about running out of ammunition, especially if you pick up someone else's firearm. I think one of the weak points of Lancer is her submachine gun. It is good. It is good by submachine gun standards, but if Lancer picks up Dima's AK or Anvil's light machine gun or Talon's submachine gun any of the ones that are just slightly better, she becomes way more effective because of her ability to immediately reload it and have better damage output.
I absolutely agree. I think when she picks up an AK, she really shines. Like, then you no longer have the same damage fall off. You can have a higher, it seems like a higher DPS. I don't know the data, like what's the damage per second is on the HRM24S, but I would think that the AKs and other guns are just way better.
Especially at range.
Yeah. Also, she can run, if you have an opportunity to get a pick and go run dual guns, it's kind of crazy because you can run long range and some short range like a shotgun, even her striker. I've seen a lot of people doing work with their striker, but having that ability with the instant reload is pretty crazy. I've actually been using a sniper rifle on her a lot, which is pretty nuts, where you can pop the sniper and then roll SMG, and it's pretty nutty as well.
So in her trait and perk loadout, she has 2 of the best 10k perks in the game. Oh, in my opinion.
No,
she has
absolutely.
access to both the tracker rounds and life drain, which whenever I play her, I tend to not even upgrade her submachine gun and rely on getting a kill, picking up whatever gun they have, and instead spending my money on getting both life drain and tracker rounds so that I'm more of an assistance to the team and I can do more 1v2s and 1v3s more effectively, because of a lot of the times Lancer is playing alone, so you have to try and get all of the little benefits you can from her perks.
Absolutely.
She has access to the Simtex grenade, which again, solid. It's not bad. Smoke grenade, I never buy a smoke grenade on her. Whenever it starts to get a bit more sweaty, a bit more competitive, I think that smoke executes are going to become more of a thing. But as of the current game meta, nobody really uses smoke grenades unless you're playing Phantom, and Simtex is solid. Her pistol, her submachine gun pistol, I think is super solid. I would never upgrade it because that's kind of a waste of money. You're immediately going to be upgrading into a submachine gun that is better in almost every way. But for pistol rounds, it can be super clutch. The ability to reload that gun really quickly, because it does have a reload time that is on the longer end of the pistols, is super amazing. It makes her a really just a formidable opponent on pistol rounds, if not on the rest of the rounds as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't realize that it actually says something pain on here. I'm not even sure what's going on there, but just noticed that. But I would say that I totally agree with you. And actually, when I first started playing her, bring the pain on the magazine. Okay, right. Well, when I first started playing with her, I actually half upgraded her pistol off the start. But I think you're right. That's a waste of 2K because she's great even with 15 rounds. Getting the extra 5 rounds is not that big a deal. You might as well save the 2K and then roll it into something else. And I do agree, like, lifesteal should be the priority buy here. So gun, lifesteal, and Semtex priority buys, and then everything else secondary, in my opinion. All right, so we're back here now. We got yo girl Phantom. I know that you have a lot of feelings about this one. I'm really curious where you would think Phantom fits.
Phantom, because she is currently the only rogue that has access to a one-hit kill weapon, is S tier.
Okay, let's hear you defend it.
So the ability to, even if you're unable to secure a kill, to be able to stop or to be able to throw a defense into array by getting a one-hit knock on an individual is huge. Being able to hold mid for rotates from a really far angle is huge.
Okay.
In addition, she doesn't have bad perks. So Phantom, in terms of perks and loadout, is great. She obviously has the sniper rifle, which we all know and love. Upgrading the sniper rifle to the second spot should be, if you are playing a more quicker style, should be your primary focus. It makes the ADS speed and scope in time on the rifle much faster, and kind of makes it so that you're more easily adaptable to the situation instead of having to focus on holding angles because your scope and speed is so slow. But the perks, she has a lot of the same perks as Lancer, and I think people overlook that. She has tracker darts, she has life drain, she has cloak, she has fast reload, she has stalker so that she's able to walk at full movement speed while ADS on a weapon. Her perks are amazing. Where she falls off is her Q. Her Q is a smoke grenade, which actively reveals enemies who stand inside of it.
Really? See, I actually think her Q is great. I think her Q is a huge team ability, like way better than a lot of other people's, because you can actually lock off. Take Icarus, for example, and you have that center thing. Most of us just W key around the left side and take the site because we're aggressive. But in those really sweaty ones, she can lock off a whole avenue of approach, smoking off left of mid or right of mid and making a mid push possible, or even smoking off like one side and pushing the other side. Really, like in those like really, especially I like to see her on Vice. There's a lot of big wide open areas and she can really lock off an area with that smoke. I think it's pretty viable.
I think that the fact that it's easily counterable by a $4,000 perk, which is cloaked, makes it less useful. It's very useful in the early rounds when people don't want to spend that money on cloaked, but in the later rounds it falls off pretty quickly. It is still a smoke grenade, so you still have access to a free smoke grenade, which is very nice. But I think that is one of the parts that makes her a bit weaker, unless you know, like, you plan where you're going to use it. Like on Icarus, you're going to have to plan that you're going to use your smoke grenade there, or you're going to plan to throw it into the site behind this particular cover because their Saint loves to hold that cover in the back site. So you're going to smoke that specific thing. It's much more of a tactical thing and not something that's always going to be good to have. She has access to the P12K, the same pistol that Talon has access to. I think it is one of the stronger pistols in the game, especially once you have it fully upgraded with the larger magazine capacity. It shoots at a relatively quick fire rate, just a bit slow or a bit faster than the Deagle, but not it's comparable to the Deagle in terms of fire rate. It's accurate. It hits for 25 damage up close. So at a close range, you're able to 4-shot someone, which is very similar to the Deagle. I think the Deagle does comparable damage. I think it does a little bit more. But the biggest part that is really good about her pistol is that even at longer ranges, it still does 20-ish damage. So whenever you're able to get a body shot on someone, if they're not immediately behind cover, you can quick swap, which one of her perks allows her to swap weapons even faster, the Nimble Hands perk, into that pistol to get the follow-up shot onto a target. It doesn't always turn out the way that it should, but if they're behind cover, then you gain access to her throwable, which is a frag grenade.
I'll say one thing about her pistol though is that her pistol basically is like just perfect for her, right? So it's got a little bit faster fire rate than Deagle. Deagle does do more damage, and I think for me, I do kind of prefer the Deagle because I have a fire style where I'm in cover and I'll pop up and I'll do a couple shots, cop down, pop a couple shots or something like that, and that's generally how I get kills with the Deagle. You're going to be more successful with the Deagle on that one. But when you're running and gunning, or when you've hit someone with the sniper for 80 already, and you only need to hit them for 20 when they have the basic 100 health points, 25 is more than enough to get that shot off, and it fires a little bit faster. And I've seen people 1v2 with this pistol. It's crazy. I love to experiment more with the DMR, but the sniper is why you get Phantom. So it's almost like, I don't know. It's tough to say. Now, the cloak thing you bring up is a good point, right? So I actually think their sticky sensors are great, except with other people getting cloaked. And some teams definitely are getting cloaked pretty quickly. I know that Sigils and Biffle on my team are always trying to get cloaked. I don't play a lot of people who have cloaked, so I don't generally get cloaked. And there's a lot of people who don't even have cloaked as an option for a perk to get. And these sticky sensors are definitely useful on a flank. I'll take an example of High Castle, where you have the two sites, one with the tower and the one on the left side. And often teams will push the left objective. If you're the defender, it's the left objective. And this is great to throw inside the house. So if someone gets into mid and comes around and comes to flank through the house and through to the left site there, you can put one of these in there and you get revealed. You get just enough time to make that adjustment that you need. But again, like I said, yeah, it does seem like it's a little bit more unrolling. You definitely buy frag grenade first and then sticky sensor second. Moving on now, let's get to Ronin. I think Ronin is probably S tier. I'm just going to drop her in S, and you tell me if you disagree, but I think she's pretty much viable. Attack, defense, she's got one of the best rounded kits. She's relatively easy to learn, and she looks great. So what do you think?
I think Ronin is an S tier.
All right.
I think that more people are unaware of her passive, but her passive is great. So Ronin, I think, is S tier as well. I think more people are unaware of her passive, and her passive is great. Underground, her passive ability, hidden on the enemy's minimap. So this won't hide you from Talon darts or from reveals, but her main AK rifle is unsuppressed, but she never shows up on the minimap whenever she's firing it. So I think that is really, really nice, and is something that a lot of people don't notice. Her ballistic knife, obviously, throwable one-hit kill, throwable claymore, basically. Makes a very loud noise, but a lot of people still run into it all the time.
Like once a round almost. This is almost a free kill against noob teams. Like, and if
For
not,
sure.
it causes somebody to have to look at a certain angle or pie a corner in order to do that, which often also results in a death or results in having to like very deliberately push through a doorway. Even if you know there's a ballistic knife there, you generally have to take like a super wide angle to try to get the shot on it, which then compromises you to somebody else. It also has the ability to just direct throw. You can direct lay this thing onto person or two people rushing in a site. If teams are too close together, you can easily get 2-3 kills with this ballistic knife, or secure a kill on somebody who's down by throwing it on the ground. Also, I still need to test this, but you can throw this ballistic knife on the ground and shoot it right after and it'll explode. And if you just need to do like a little bit of damage to somebody to finish someone off, that's another option to do it. So you have to be really careful where you throw these ballistic knives, because if you throw it right next to your own teammate and your own teammate's playing a bunker or something like that, and the other team decides to shoot that knife, it will blow up and kill that teammate. And I've done it before, so it's a little bit sketchy. You have to be a little careful with these ballistic knives, but it also stands out on maps like my favorite map, Skyfell. Not my favorite map. But anyway, you can put these things to watch zip lines. You can put these things to watch all different kinds of things. And there's definitely some spots where it's like impossible to see this ballistic knife until it's too late.
With her secondary machine pistol, Nimble Hands comes in clutch more often than I would think, with the ability to switch off to the machine pistol to finish a kill, secure a kill, re-peek someone after you spend your entire magazine, etc. Super awesome. Tenacity lowers the received damage from explosives. Super great if you're facing off against an enemy Dema, Anvil, Talon, people who have access to frag grenades, C4s, and just mass explosives. Also enemy Ronins if you come across their knives, that type of thing. All in all, primarily on her, I focus on getting the grenade to a second tier upgrade, the AK to a full upgrade, tenacity, and nimble hands. She doesn't have a lot of you can build her out a couple of ways. They can fit to a specific play style or to your play style. There's no ones that are just, this is the best way and this is how you should build her. But yeah, currently with her kit and her Q, I think she's S tier.
All right, so back to the tier list. We've got Saint next. Saint is obviously the team healer, really the only like confirmed, verified, like full support Andy, but he's also got a really great gun. I think he's probably like near 100% or 90% pick rate right now, I would imagine, in demo. Kind of tough to say whether at high elo he'll be as useful, but where do you put him right now?
Currently, I would put him at S tier.
Okay.
Purely because he's the only support operative that we have, and also, you never feel bad if you have a Saint on your team. You never feel like it's a wasted pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that in combination with his kit, I think he's S tier.
Okay, let's talk about his kit.
So Saint currently has access to two main guns, the MLX Mark IV and the Mamba. The Mamba is a DMR 3-round burst, similar to the BR from Halo or the FAMAS from multiple Call of Duties. It is a fast fire rate, 3-round burst. You get all 3 shots in the head, you're going to get 60 plus damage on someone. Yep. 2-shot, very, very good if you can hit your shots. His other primary, the MLX Mark IV, has 20 body damage. It's a 5-shot kill, has a relatively decent rate of fire. It's not the highest, it's not the slowest. I think it is a good gun stats wise, but the ADS, the fact that whenever you aim down sight on the weapon and you have an actual red dot sight instead of an over the shoulder view as with most other assault rifles, makes it very odd and very hard to use. And the hip fire on the MLX Mark IV leaves a lot to be desired. It is a very wide hip fire that will leave you missing a lot when you think you should hit, and can really fail you in a lot of clutch situations. Overall, I see almost a 90% pick rate on the Mamba for Saint. So
yeah, I think that's definitely the best one. All right, so Saint has obviously got like some of the best perks. He's got his revive drone, which is like anywhere on the map queue, you can send a little drone to go revive your buddy. So that bot that you play with, and everybody's got at least one who rushes in and goes and dies early. That's the guy that you can send this queue off. Now, it's a little bit funky sometimes because you can't send the queue on a zip wire or a vaulting or like jumping. There's a couple little things here, and interesting to see if they'll change that. But easily what that does is it either gets your teammate back into the fight, which happens more or less, more often than not, especially if that person who goes down realizes that they should actually try to live once they're down. They should actually move to cover instead of trying to peek Bidu. But anyway, you can always get that extra person back in the thing. And if not, then it usually forces somebody to push to try to secure that kill. And because a lot of people have a lot of trouble being patient, they'll run to their death and cause your team to be able to get an extra pick off of that. Then his passive here, medical expertise, is reviving a teammate heals both of you for a significant amount. That's pretty crazy. Like, I actually didn't even realize that was a passive for him, but when you get a revive there, that actually heals you. So when you're like doing that clutch revive, whether it's with the bot or not, that's probably pretty strong right there. Sane also has a throwing axe, smoke grenade, and trip mine. The trip mines, I think, are kind of lackluster. I wish they were better. You can definitely get some picks off them, but they seem kind of finicky on when they go off and when they don't. Smoke grenades, I think, are pretty underrated, and you'll see as people get better and better at the game, a lot of people utilizing these second abilities like smokes to make really good team plays, especially in demolition. We're not seeing it super frequently now, but teams that do make good use of smokes definitely have an advantage over teams that don't. And then I think we talked a little bit about his perks before, but he's got tracker rounds and armor, which are both good perks, definitely strong together, and definitely a support guy. But he's also got the ability to revive teammates faster, which cuts his revive time, even with his drone, in half pretty much. Super fast revives, and this can make a huge difference when your Saint pulls this perk. And also he's got the cloak and this ability as well. But I would say definitely revive teammates faster being like probably his best perk. And then you've got the 2 10k perks, which are not bad at all. What do you think?
A lot of the times whenever I play Saint, I buy the quick revive first. It cuts the revive time from 5 to 3 seconds, and as you said, it affects your drone, so even your remote revive becomes just that much faster. That, in combination with getting the health back after a revive, it just makes it so that if you get someone down off trying to push an objective, you're able to reset that much easier and faster if you're able to get to him whenever he's down. Cloaked, once again, super great. I think everybody should take cloaked if on the enemy team they have any intel gatherers whatsoever. The armor, I think people are relying on armor a bit too much. It only really affects the first gunfight you get into or the first nade that gets thrown at you. It can be super helpful not to go down early in a round, but I don't think it's always worth that 10k immediate purchase. Tracker rounds, we've been over it. Great, awesome perk.
All right, so back to our tier list again. We've got Scorch. Now, my girl Scorch was near and dear to my heart. I played the heck out of her up until this day. Today is now 8/18/2020. Yesterday, she was nerfed. 15 seconds to 10 seconds on her Q ability. Still very strong. No change to the damage and no change to anything else. So she's still very viable. Not a bad nerf, but 5 seconds of fewer time when she can have her Q and her damage over time. Where do you think she fits?
Overall, she is a B tier.
Yeah, I think man, you think she's B? I think she still could potentially be A, but it's tough to say. It's only been 1 day since patch.
So Scorch's Q, or active ability, is for a period of time your firearms and melee attacks will set enemies on fire, dealing damage over time. And she has the passive ability of Fireproof. Her overheat, it goes to both your pistol, your main weapon, any weapons you pick up, and your melee, which is your arm. She does not have a throwable melee. It puts a damage over time, so you're able to hit whenever you get hits on target. If they retreat behind cover, you're still able to get that extra little bit of damage to get someone down, or to secure a kill, or just to kill them faster if they're out of cover. For the Fireproof, you're able to move through your incendiary grenades without having to deal with it. You're able to push onto an objective after throwing your incendiary. It makes it a little bit easier to work around those pools of fire that'll be on the ground after.
All right, so Scorch for me, easy pick. I go SMG here. I mean, it's kind of memey to run the shotgun. I know Calf's done it a little bit, but the SMG is pretty great. Tier 1 upgrade bumps you up to 40 rounds mag size, which I think is pretty clutch because I do find myself reloading quite a bit. I'll just mag dump somebody, and I'll usually continue to mag dump them with the dot to make sure they're dead. It just makes sense. But then tier 3 upgrade is kind of like meh. I find the handling to be fine at tier 1, so at least that tier 1 upgrade is pretty important to me. In terms of her pistol, I personally am not a huge fan of it. It is a burst fire pistol and does give some pretty good damage over time if you have the immolation perk on, but it's just kind of okay. What I actually kind of like to do during pistol round is get a first kill with this thing and then pick up somebody's little SMG pistol. That's pretty cute. Now, the melee thing, this actually I use more than I think, you know. And other rogues, we didn't talk too much about the melee except for maybe on on Ronin. But actually I find that putting some points into this makes it actually pretty nice, because the body damage of 45 in the base version is pretty good, honestly. Like, that's higher than other people's 30 something damage melee. And then if you get the reach out and the damage upgrade, I find myself punching people more often than not. Plus it actually applies the damage over time on it every melee, even without the Q apply, which is kind of interesting. Incendiary grenade I pretty much use to push people out of bunkers. So if somebody's behind a barrier or something like that, I'll throw the melee and have it impact on the top of the barrier and burn them out. I also use it on anvil walls, and I use it to stop people from pushing through narrow chokes. So I find that the incendiary grenade is pretty good for that, but overall it's probably one of the weaker throwables. But it is pretty good for Scorch, since he's immune to fire. You can throw this on if you're going to try to make a push on someone, but they know where you are and you know where they are. You can throw this on the corner of a bunker so that they can't peek out to shoot you, and then you can push through it to get an easy pick. A lot of people won't expect you to push through the Molotov cocktail because they forget that Scorch is immune to fire. In terms of perks, she's got pretty good perks. I find that just for getting those multi-kills, that Replenish is my favorite perk on her. The armor's pretty useful, but not super significant. And then I actually go get with Tenacity. So I get the reduced damage from explosives, which often or not, that kind of saves my life, especially from friendly Demas when played by Ian and other folks. But I find that to be the most useful. The other perks are just kind of meh for her in terms of that. What do you think, Kev?
Tenacity and Replenish are instant picks for me. I do have a soft spot in my heart for the shotgun. If you have your Q active and you shoot someone in the chest with the shotgun, you can get a one-hit kill, really get some good kill chains going with it. But overall, it is inconsistent at best, and it's more of a meme than anything. I don't tend to use her melee nearly as often as you do. I find also that the tier 3 upgrade on the submachine gun is really, really good, just for the increased accuracy while ADS, but with such a high rate of fire on it, that tends to go away within the first 5 rounds fired, which is almost instantly.
All right, so what about Talon? How do we feel about Talon?
I think Talon is heavily slept on. I think Talon is an easy A tier.
A tier. Okay, let's hear why.
So Talon's Q is a radar dart. Equip a radar dart that, when thrown, attaches to surfaces and detects nearby enemies on the radar. So this can be easily countered with glitch, with the cloaked perk, with things like that. But what I love it for is that it is easily movable. It's not a smoke grenade where you place it and that's all you get. It's not a Dallas Q where you get the nearest guy that's not cloaked and that's all you get until you get it down. This one, you can throw it onto the bomb site. As long as it doesn't get destroyed, you can get it back, throw it onto the flank. You can get it back, throw it onto what you're pushing. So I feel like that is a very strong point in his abilities.
Yeah, but like, what happened to his undershirt here? I'm like a little confused. Did he lose that in battle, or does he not wear undershirts? I'm just a little confused about what's going on.
You just gotta show the chest sometimes, my man.
Yeah, I guess so.
So Talon's guns. He has the same submachine gun as Glitch. We kind of talked about that in length previously. Really good gun, comes suppressed right out the box. Can be accurate when you get it to tier 3. Good, solid gun. He also has a unique DMR. This DMR, I think, isn't actually that great. It has really, really high damage, and it does over 50 damage on a headshot, any range. So you're able to get those really nice two tap headshots and down someone, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, is the second to the sniper for the lowest amount of bullets per kill that you can currently get in the game.
Yeah, but its fire rate is so slow.
It is so slow, and you have to hit those shots. If someone is pushing you, especially since he has the same pistol as the sniper, it really leaves you in a really tough position. So I end up falling back to the submachine gun more often and using the intel that I gather to push or not push certain angles, because I'll either know they're there or not, and then play off of that.
Yeah, definitely clutch to have a Talon. Plus, he's got the dope katana, which is pretty tight. Same katana as Ronin. And he's got C4, which is my personal favorite throwable. You can do magic with the C4. This thing is deadly. Tier 1 increased throw distance and tier 2 damage to 150 is pretty nuts. And the ability to detonate remotely and pre-place C4 is pretty solid. You definitely can get lots and lots of really good plays with C4. Flashbang, it's okay. Hit or miss on sometimes it works, but definitely another reason to make him kind of like an aggressive player. But his perks, again, he's got Lifesteal, Life Drain, which is like very, very, very useful. I personally like Tenacity on him. And I think after that, I probably maybe go Nimble Hands before I go Sixth Sense. We talked about Sixth Sense not being the most useful perk. All right, Trench. So we've got Trench here. I think this is an offense tier list, remember. Offense tier list for Demolition. So Trench is really good on the defense. He's actually like, for me, he's like a must pick on 2 sites. If you're facing a sweaty team and you really want to like lock down a site and you're stratting out pretty hard, then I'll definitely pull Trench. But I think in the offense tier list, he's probably pretty low. What do you think, Kaf?
I think that Trench gets a D for defense.
Oof. Okay, let's hear about why.
So Trench has his Q, which is a barbed wire grenade, as it states on the screen, but it's a coiled barbed wire thing that he throws. But it is a relatively short distance, and it leaves you open whenever you're trying to throw it from behind cover. You stand up, and it's really more of a prep type of ability, not so much something you can use in the moment, because it takes time and you have to really plan where you're going to put it. You can't just put it down in the moment and expect it to work 100% of the time.
So Gadget Up is pretty useful. I actually think Gadget Up is pretty useful for the ADS alone, right? So when we go to his loadout, he actually has ADS system, and that means when you get his ADS system, you get 2 of them, which is pretty useful because that means you can negate 2 uses of the enemy's abilities or throwables, so you can save yourself from a grenade and from a Dema, and you can still be holding that bunker behind the barbed wire, which is pretty useful. Same thing goes for the tear gas, but I find tear gas to be pretty underwhelming, but I will buy it every now and then just to have that one extra thing to slow people in there. I will say that I'm a little disappointed that Trench doesn't have a throwable that really does any damage at all. And if kills and knocks matter to you, then Trench is not have a kit that can actually kill or damage enemies behind cover, which is a little bit frustrating sometimes. But he makes up for that with his DMR, which is absolutely dope. I love this thing. I can dink people all day with this. I'll choose it over the AK hands down, no problem. And I actually also like the Deagle. His baseball bat is good for memes. And his perks are okay. Again, not anything too crazy, but tracker rounds is pretty good. Again, supporting the team. Trench is definitely a support guy. A little bit extra armor to survive behind that bunker with tenacity, so that after your ADSs are gone, you still don't die from explosives. If a Trench is playing smart and behind a bunker, he is not going to die. He's going to stay there for a long period of time. And a Trench behind a bunker with his barbed wire out, with his ADSs out, basically needs a whole team to push him in order to get that kill. All right, that leaves us with Vi. Let's go with Vi. Where are we putting her?
I'm putting Vi in C.
C? Okay, all right. Better than Trench. Interesting. Let's hear why.
So I think Vi is just a little bit ahead of Trench. If you want to play Trench on attack, you should just play Vi instead, and you'll have just that little bit better because of her Q having 2 uses. You throw it the same distance as Trench's barbed wire, and she's also a very defense-minded operator or rogue. But the Vile Poison, it spreads similar to a incendiary grenade, and it leeches that life and does damage over time to enemies. So you can throw it whenever you're pushing up on an objective. You can throw it behind and actively get damage and push people out from behind cover. Whereas with Trench's barbed wire, they can still just sit in that bunker and not move. And there's nothing really keeping them there unless you try and flush them out, in which then whenever they get flushed out, that's whenever the barbed wire really starts to affect. In Vi's case, you can use the Vile Poison as you're pushing as a way to push someone out of cover. It's just a little bit hit and miss because you have to be so close to actively use it. On the upside, if you do effectively use it while pushing, you get the leeching poison, you get that extra health, which can really help with her survivability.
Moving on to her guns, I think the Nightshade is hands down better for me. I've seen some people running the shotgun, but for me, I like the Nightshade assault rifle. Pretty standard magazine upgrade, handling, and then you got the range fall off at the end. But I think it's pretty nice, but it doesn't seem to hit super hard. It's not too bad. The Deagle's good. Again, I go with the Katana for the memes. But again, she's very limited with her tear gas grenade and incendiary grenade. Not anything that can really kill anybody unless they stay stationary behind a bunker or you're securing a kill with the incendiary. And I find the tear gas, again, to be pretty underwhelming personally. Also, her perks, her two 10k perks. So one is good, replenish is good, but again, 6 cents. I'm always disappointed about 6 cents. I personally don't think helping hand on her is a great perk, but I would go with tenacity and cloaked. Cloaked to stay off other people's radars, and tenacity for the damage. What about you, Cav?
Yeah, I have to agree. The shotgun has been really bad for me. Every time I've tried to use it, I just haven't. It doesn't have the same amount of punch as the other shotguns, and I come out on the bottom end of a fight more times than I would like to admit. Whereas if I would have had the Nightshade, at least I would have been able to fight them at a better range at minimum. The grenades, they leave a lot to be desired. Perks, I love that she has cloaked. I like any rogue that has cloaked. Tenacity, I think is great. But yeah, her 10k perks, in the 6 cents perk, really, it's just not very good, and it sucks that this is the one she got. If she had body armor, I think that would just make her even just that much tiny bit better. But
yeah,
as
for
it stands, C tier operator.
All right, now the time near and dear to my heart, the Anvil main. I have more time on Anvil than I have on any other rogue, by the way. And part of it's for memes because he's the closest to Tachanka, but part of it is also because I actually think he is very good in the game. And even after receiving 3 nerfs yesterday, I still think he has a place in a lot of rounds. I also think he's very viable on attack. He does have an ability to roll basically a defensive of a wall, cut off a rotate, or basically make people have to think about his own wall thing. So I actually feel like he belongs not all the way at the bottom, but I want to hear Caffeinated. Where do you think Anvil belongs here in the offensive demo tier list?
Personally, I would put him at a C, but you could argue for a B.
Okay.
The reason why I personally would put him at a C is because I don't think that the barricade, if you're executing and you have the place for the barricade and it's on a map that you know, which becomes very niche in his use case scenarios, he can be great. But if you're just picking him because you want to play him and you're not planning specifically for an execute onto a map or a specific bomb site, a lot of the times you can put it down and it won't heavily affect the round.
That sounds like people who are bad at Anvil. I think he belongs at B firmly, with the potential to be B plus or even A, and I'll tell you why. All right, my boy Anvil, he, I think, is B plus, potentially A, even after the nerfs, but especially before the nerfs, because even on attack, that barricade makes people think about an angle that is an entirely different thing. You see, basically at really good teams, they know the sites really well. They know the angles really well. They know which bunkers they can hold and which ones they can't, which ones have the line of sight that they need and which ones can't. But being able to put up a barricade somewhere where someone's unexpected gives you lines of sight, protection, and the ability to throw C4 or a grenade behind cover without exposing yourself from all different types of places. I think that's really useful. Also, unfortunately right now, the game allows you to put that barricade around a bomb after you plant it if you really want to. Now, I personally don't do that in games because I think it's corny and cheap, but you can put a barricade blocking a bomb into its own corner and stopping the enemy team from defusing. Now, you also can make it mess up and put that barricade too close to the bomb and it can be defused through the barricade, so you have to be careful, but it also provides a lot of opportunities there. This is particularly shines on defense where you can block avenues of approach, but if you're 2 people left alive and you've got 3 or 4 up on the enemy team, you can lock off one of those avenues of approach and make like a nice little funnel point for people to have to fight through. I also find that other people like Sniper, like Phantom in particular, you can set that barricade up and your teammates can use it as cover to get a couple picks, and I find that makes its utility pretty useful. Before his nerf, he was able to put this barricade up multiple times within a round, which is why I think he was a higher tier then. He also had he got a gun nerf this last patch, and they nerfed C4, not making you be able to detonate in midair. So that's why I think he's firmly B now, rather than higher. But I know that that's near and dear to my heart. I will say his passive is pretty for a passive. I don't even notice it half the time. And I would say that EMPs are underused right now, but maybe at high elo that'll make a bigger difference. In terms of guns, though, I've seen some people running the shotgun, but for me, it's an easy pick for the LMG. The LMG is a massive game changer. 60 rounds in the base gun, 90 rounds at tier 1. That allows you to just pre-fire for days, hold people into bunkers, and a lot of new players unfortunately continue to peek despite someone full autoing the LMG at their head. and they die all day. Also, it makes him very good at being able to take out multiple people on a corner peek and for pre-fires on down players, etc. He can just continue to shoot for days. It does enough damage. It's pretty fast, and I personally really like it. I also enjoy the baseball bat for the memes, and I do like the deagle. It is my favorite. C4 is my favorite throwable in the game for that exact reason. Using it behind a wall, using it behind a barrier to quickly destroy 1 or 2 players on the other side. It's way faster than having to cook a grenade, and you can do it pretty quickly. And the ADS, although I don't use it very often on attack, is something that's pretty useful. After you take sight, you can throw up a wall, you can throw down ADS, and you're basically unkillable behind a bunker. You've got C4, you've got the LMG. You just have a lot of potential to win here. That rolls into his perks coupled with life drain. My favorite 10k perk. Gives him full life after that first drop on his first 30 rounds on his LMG. Full life after that second drop on his second 30 rounds on the LMG. And you still have another 30 rounds for the third guy and full health to take the third guy out. Plus he's got tenacity, which procs pretty much any explosive. Helping hand, meh. But I'll grab the armor for him to get him up to 125 HP. For me, I think he's definitely at least a B pick. What do you think, Kaf?
The parts that really suffer for me is his light machine gun is good. It is very good in close quarters, but at range, even at tier 3, the ADS bloom and the maximum accuracy you can get out of it leaves a lot to be desired. You are aiming at the person, not at the head on the person at distance. You're just hoping that you get the headshots.
I'll see. I completely disagree with you there. I absolutely get headshots all day with that, but you have to be crouching for that reduced bloom with him. I find that if you crouch with your shots there, you can definitely head dank from distance. But he's right, at long range with like phantom level range or down mid or something like that, he doesn't necessarily shine as much as somebody with an AK or something like that, but much more comparable than somebody with an SMG. So I find this gun to be at medium range the most effective, medium to close range for sure. So I agree with that comment. He's B tier. Anyway, that wraps it up for our tier list. Any last changes we want to make here? We've got Lancer, Phantom, Ronin, and Saint in S tier, Chalk, Dima, and Talon in A tier, Glitch, Scorch, and Anvil in B tier, and then Dallas and Vi in C with a poor Trench at the bottom for offense demo tier list. Any last moves we want to make?
So the one move I think I want to make, I want to move Lancer from S tier to A tier, purely because yes, she has a lot of 1v1 capability, but whenever you start getting into actual executes and sweaty play, having people who are more dedicated to the team fights and getting more than one person onto a person, like having more than one person firing on an enemy, makes you exponentially more likely to win that engagement. Whereas Lancer is much more of a solo play, and in a lot of these public matches and extraction and strikeout in the current implemented demo, Lancer is very strong, but a lot of the teams that we're currently running into are not coordinated enough to really anti-Lancer or anti-rush.
Yeah, I think she shines in strikeout as well. Like that's a different game mode, but I think for demo strats providing utility to the team, I actually agree. So let's move her down to A.
Other than that, list looks great to me.
All right, that wraps it up for our Rogue Company offense Rogue tier list for demolition game mode. Hopefully you guys agree with us, but if you don't, please let us know in the comments. Give us a like up if you like this video, and if you didn't like the video and you disagreed, give us a like up anyway, because I need likes. And please, like, I have YouTube friends that have way more subscribers than me, so I need your subscriptions. Please, they bully me all the time. You can see it live every single day, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I get on and I get bullied. Feels bad. Please help me. Please help me. Also, please check out Caffeinated. Caf, where can we find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/caffeinated. Usually I'm playing with Wicked, usually around 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
There you go. Boom. All right, Wicked Ones, take it easy. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.